How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ballerina, or from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. I don't know why I have to have that long name, but this was directed by Len Wiseman and stars Ana de Amas. In this movie that takes place, beginning part takes place years before John Wick. Next part takes place during the events of John Wick Chapter 3, and then the rest of the movie takes place between the events of John Wick Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. And we learn about this new character named Eve who is going on a revenge quest after this cult of assassins kills her dad when she's very young. And we see her trained with the director and her ballerina organization of assassins. And if we recall, in John Wick Chapter 3, we did get a glimpse of that world, but not a big look at that world. Also returning from the previous John Wick movies are Ian McShane as Winston, Lance Reddick, Keanu Reeves, and Angela Huston. And this is the fifth movie in the franchise. And I feel like at this point for the John Wick franchise, spin offs are the way to go, expanding the John Wick universe. Because as you've seen at the end of John Wick Chapter 4, spoiler if you haven't seen it, it's been out for over 2 years. John Wick is dead, although they want to make a fifth movie. But they want to make spin-offs. We have the Ballerina spin-off, which has been in the works for quite some time. They want to do a spin-off off of Donnie Yen's character, Kane, as well, which is something I wanted to see since John Wick Chapter 4. But there were some concerns going into this movie, particularly with the word of mouth, because there was something with the embargoes. Sean Chandler on YouTube made a movie about it a few weeks ago, where apparently they only wanted positive reactions until June 4th, and that's when the more critical reactions can come out. I don't know, it was really confusing, but basically it seems like they this movie wasn't going to be that good. It got delayed for over a year. It was supposed to come out in 2024, and usually when movies lift their embargoes a day or two before the movie comes out, most of the time that's the sign that the movie's going to at least get a mixed negative response and not be all that good. Cry Kid Legends, that it happened with that recently. I think it happened with Captain America Brave New World. I remember it happened with Batman versus Superman 9 years ago. I think it happened with Thor Love and Thunder. I think it might have happened with, I think Shazam it happened with as well. So, not to say every movie, this happens to every movie that waits a day or two to lift their review embargo, but the high probability that the movie's not going to be good is usually high when that happens. But Ballerina is actually a very good movie. I think as far as spin-offs go, this is definitely one of the better spin-offs. I wouldn't say it's the best John Wick movie or movie in the John Wick franchise, but it's definitely a worthy spin-off in regards to action, because the action in this movie is incredible. Now, story-wise, it does have the familiar beats of a revenge story, stuff about the Continental. So we have our familiar places, a fight in the nightclub, a assassin going off on their own, breaking the rules, breaking codes. We've seen this before in the John Wick movies, but now we're seeing it with a different character in Eve. And Ana de Amas does such a great job with this character. I remember in No Time to Die, I was really impressed with her action sequences, but her character only got a small amount of screen time. Very disappointing, because even though I love No Time to Die, I think she could have been in the movie a lot more. But it showed that she had potential to carry an action movie, and in here she shows it. Her action sequences are great. It feels different from John Wick, even though the story beats may feel similar in cliche to John Wick movies. Her fighting style and her personality and characteristics do feel different, with the only similarity being that they both want revenge and come from tragic backgrounds. But like in other John Wick movies, the creative use of using certain items as weapons, whether it's a pickaxe or kitchen knives, ice skates, to do such a creative job with the action is always like how John Wick has used books and pencils in the past. But there's also some great action with grenades and flamethrowers, from Eve using flamethrowers to her using a water hose to counter a flamethrower. if you're an anime fan or a Dragon Ball Z fan, you might be watching this and thinking, wow, this almost feels like a Dragon Ball Z Kam- Kameo Wave versus Kameo Wave or some other big attack. But no, the action is incredible in this movie. The story does feel like the weakest in the John Wick franchise. Not to say it's terrible, but it does feel familiar. And a couple of the newer characters, well, I don't think were terrible. There's just a couple stuff with them that I feel like gets forgotten. Like there's this one character in the movie that like there's a twist with her, and it's like right when you're starting to digest the twist, something happens to that character, and all of a sudden the twist is easily forgotten, which is crazy because there was actually a even though it was a small buildup, there was still a buildup to that potential twist happening. There's a character at some point in the movie that you think gets killed off, but then they later return in the movie and it's like, oh wow, they're okay. But I mean, this is the John Wick franchise where you can survive getting hit by multiple cars, getting stabbed multiple times and whatnot. It's great to see Ian McShane once again as Winston, and he's trying to help her out in this movie. It's great to see Lance Reddick return as the concierge of the Continental as well. This is his official last film appearance, and even though it's small, it's just nice to see him again. I always loved his character in the John Wick movies. Angela Huston as the director. Sorry if I mispronounced that first name. We get more of her in this movie, and we see how controlling and how strict she is. Like we obviously could tell from her small appearance in John Wick Chapter 3, but we see more of it here. And she has a lot of potential if they continue to make sequels to Ballerina, which I think they should. I think this can be a really good spin-off franchise in the John Wick movies. Now, Keanu Reeves does appear as John Wick in this movie. He appears twice. The first time, which is during the events of John Wick Chapter 3 when he comes to her for help and Eve meets him and gets some advice from him. And then the second time we see him is in the third act, where a lot of crazy stuff happens with the action that's entertaining. But it's a second appearance that I think people might find confusing, especially if you care about continuity within the John Wick movies, because we saw at the end of John Wick Chapter 3, Winston shoots him a few times. John Wick falls off the roof of the Continental, hits a nearby fire escape, hits, I'm pretty sure it was a dumpster, and lands in a puddle. He's all bloodied up and bruised. He's being wheeled in a cart to the Bowery King. And at the beginning of John Wick Chapter 4, based on how it goes, and we're seeing John Wick train and recover, and what the Bowery King says, where it's like, you're ready to get back, or something like that. And it's like, we were meant to believe that this guy's been underground training with the Bowery King, also recovering all this time. And it's later revealed that the events that happened for the what is basically the second half of the movie, that includes where John Wick comes back, happens a couple months after the events of Chapter 3. Now, wounds can heal. I'm not expecting him to be bloodied up or scarred, although to be fair, most of his scars would probably be hidden under his suit and tie. But you would expect this guy to be in aching pain or still not fully 100%. His fight sequences in this movie, as great as they are, it's like he's even more invincible here than he was in his own movies in some of his fight sequences. It's like, so wait a minute, his recovery time was quick. I don't want to question the logic, because again, he probably should have died realistically and in the other movies based on the wounds and the amount of times he's been stabbed, shot, or hit by something. But again, I did also mention that a character that we thought died in the middle of the movie is revealed to be alive at the end of the movie. This is the world of John Wick, and you can survive anything, I guess. But no, Keanu's great in this movie. His action sequences are great as well. And he doesn't take away from Ana de Armas. And honestly, I feel like Ballerina handled John Wick better than Karate Kid Legends handled Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso because they overmarketed Ralph Macchio, and he's basically a glorified cameo in that movie. While here, I mean, John Wick feels a little bit more than a glorified cameo, but it's like the trailers didn't market him the right way. He wasn't over marketed, even though he did appear in trailers and is on the poster. But still, they handled him pretty well, and he doesn't take away from our new protagonist in this movie. Now, the villain of this movie, played by Gabriel Bryan, he's the leader of this cult of assassins, who is behind the death of Eve's parents. And there's a connection, a family connection there. And I think his performance was good, but at the same time, he does kind of feel like the stereotypical assassin cult leader that you would see in movies. Nothing really special, but nothing really bad either. But overall, with this movie, I think this movie was handled well. I think some people might not be thrilled that compared to the other John Wick movies that get right into the action, the beginning of the movie does take its time to build up Eve and talk about her tragic story, show what happened to her as a kid, her getting to this ballerina place in New York City, her meeting Winston, the director, and other characters. There is a slow pace to it, but I think it's actually handled well. Not everything has to be quick paced. And again, you want to make her story different from John Wick's because with John Wick's story in the first movie when we're introduced to him, his wife died, then there's the funeral, then he gets the puppy, and then the puppy gets killed, and then we hear these stories about John Wick and how he's killed people, I mean the Baba Yaga and all that. And we never really see flashbacks. We never see flashbacks of John Wick past outside of him with his wife. We never see what originally got him in the first place. We just know that his wife is the reason he got out, and the puppy that she gave to him before she died that gets killed is the reason why he came back in. We never really see what John Wick was like before as a kid, what got him in the first place. Here we see that with Eve, which I think is actually done very well. So I don't mind that it does take a while to get to the action, especially once we get to the action doesn't disappoint. I would say there's not one bad action sequence in this movie or an action sequence that ever bored me. But yeah, overall, Ballerina, Ana de Armas is excellent in this movie. The returning cast is great as well. Some of the new cast, while they're pretty good with their roles, they do feel kind of forgettable at the same time as well. Action, still finding creative ways. I would definitely like to see more with this character. There's definitely a good setup at the end of the movie and what direction to take the characters. I know they also want to do the Donnie Yen spinoff as well, based on his character Kane. Don't know when that's going to come out. Hopefully, we do get more in this universe because I feel like you can continue the John Wick universe without John Wick. Like, there's so many interesting characters that we would like to know more of or see more of in action, see other kind of fight sequences in other areas of the continental of this universe that haven't been explored yet. But overall, I'm gonna give Ballerina a B plus. I think you should check this movie out. It's not the best of the John Wick movies, but even though I do think it's the weakest of the John Wick movies, it's still a very good movie. And you can still be a very good movie and be the weakest link in your franchise. That also tells you just how great the John Wick franchise has been for 11 years now. John Wick came out in 2014, so it's been 11 years. But yeah, Ballerina, have you seen it? What'd you think about it? And what character in the John Wick universe would you like to see get a spin-off movie? Let me know in the comments down below, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that enjoys John Wick, that is interested in seeing Ballerina, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.